Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always. And today we are joined by Lucas Lee Tyson, college dorm room freelancer turned eight-figure founder. In 2019, Lucas charged $25 an hour on Upwork. 4 years later, he built Growth Cave into a $50 million powerhouse, leading a 100-person team and learning every painful lesson along the way. Today, he runs Printer.ai and License to Print, sharing proven battle-tested tactics for landing clients and scaling consulting, coaching, and course businesses. I've asked Lucas to join us here today to share his story, break down the wins, the wipeouts, and the why behind effective online marketing so we can skip the guesswork and print predictable profits faster than he did. So, Lucas, thank you for joining us, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Daryl. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, it's an honor and a pleasure. And obviously, people are like, what? Huh? It sounds like an interesting story. Before we get into that, how did you get started? Are you following in your parents' footsteps? Were your parents entrepreneurs and you're just carrying the torch? Is that how this story goes?
I would say yes. My dad worked for himself. He never had a huge business with an office. He actually worked from home pretty much my whole life before everyone worked from home. So that definitely, I think, stuck in my mind and thinking that I want to work from home. I don't want to go into an office. I liked the fact that he was around a lot. And he was essentially a writer. He was a financial writer. And that's a lot of what I do now is copywriting and marketing and just in a different way. So I've definitely learned a lot consciously and subconsciously from them. So I have a lot to thank them for.
I love that. Okay. So what? Your dad stayed at home. Were you like his copy cub? Is this kind of how the household went? You'd have breakfast and then you go upstairs with dad. And you said he worked from home. And sometimes if you grew up on a farm, you'd end up helping feed the cow. Is this it? Were you kind of like in the office with your working together?
Not really. We had a computer when I was very young, which I was born in 1998. So I don't think many households in the early 2000s had computers. I could be wrong. So at the age of 3, I would just like click around, go into just the different Microsoft programs that existed there. And I just thought it was like the coolest thing in the world. Like from the very early age, I was obsessed with the computer. And my mom tells me, like, she has pictures of me like pretending to be my dad, where he had those headsets, like those hands-free headsets that he would talk on the phone with, and I would put that on and pretend to be talking to people. So I guess subconsciously, yeah, from a young age, I was like, I want to be like my dad. I want to be like a business guy working on the computer from home all day. That was my impression of success. So I thought that was a really cool thing. But I honestly, even now, I'll be honest, I don't know a lot of what my dad does. Like he's very private about my work, about his work. My girlfriend tells me that I'm the same way. Like I don't talk about a lot of what I do. So from a young age, I knew like he did business. I knew he worked at home, but I didn't really know what a lot of it involved.
I love that. Yeah. Okay. Got it. So it's still a mystery. It's like my mom. I actually don't know how old my mom is because every year we celebrate her 29th birthday. And then when I turn 29, we celebrate her 30th. So people are like, how old's your mom? I'm like, I actually don't know. It makes me sound like a bad son, but I really
Right. It's how it is sometimes.
It's how it goes.
Yep.
So wait, if you want to be like your dad and he was a business owner, then when you went to school, you went to college, so you started this on Upwork in your dorm room. What was with the school's plan then? This was part of the business plan.
I think my parents really wanted me to go to school. They're very entrepreneurial, but they're also very educated. Like they both went to Yale. They're honestly, them and my brothers are much smarter than I am. Like I was a B and a C student, and I really did not want to go to college. Like I have a hard time like sitting in a classroom, but I did to make them happy. And I did end up finishing it. But the whole time I was trying to think of what else could I do, like school and just being a college kid. It was fun, but I definitely was not a big fan of college in general. So I spent a lot of time on my computer, and I figured if I don't have some genius business idea, if I don't have some amazing product, then maybe I can at least sell my time and start making some money. And the reason that I got started freelancing on Upwork, which is one freelancing platform, the summer before I actually started this business, I had an internship at a 3D printing company that was in Boston because I wanted to make some money over the summer, get some work experience. And the small amount of jobs that I was able to find that didn't really require experience were digital marketing internships, because it's like they'll teach you digital marketing in a month. Basically, it's not something like computer science where you need to be already going to school for it. So I didn't really have that much digital marketing experience. I ended up getting an internship, and I learned a lot from my boss there. But one of the most impactful things was one day we were sitting in on this Zoom meeting with an agency that the company works with. They had in-house employees, and then they also employed all these agencies. And I remember sitting on the meeting and I was like, I was only half paying attention because I didn't really think it was a super engaging meeting. I didn't think the agency was like doing anything mind blowing. It seemed like a kid like me who was like running the meeting essentially. And after it ended, I asked him like, oh, like how much advertising does that agency manage for us? And he's like, oh, about $250,000 a month. And I was like mind blown that number one, that they would trust this kid like me. It seemed like just with a massive budget like that. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. Like, how much do we pay them for that? And he's like, it's usually 10% a month. And I did the math and it was 25,000. They were getting paid 25,000 a month, which wasn't that far off from what I was already doing as an intern. Like I was assisting with their paid advertising on social media. I was creating all these reports. I'm like, how am I making 2,000 a month and they're making 20,000 a month? What is the fundamental difference? And that very same day, I went home, started going down the rabbit hole, learning about agencies and freelancing. And that was when I signed up for Upwork and actually got started as a digital marketer.
So what was that like? You just made an account on Upwork and the heavens parted and the pearly gates opened and money rained from the sky and you just walked your way to 50 million?
Absolutely not. I wish it did, but the very first few days I was on Upwork, like nothing happened. Like I didn't know how it worked. And I thought that was like, oh, someone's just going to pay me 20,000 a month. And then I realized, like any other platform, people only want to work with safe and proven people. And like a lot of platforms, they have reviews. I figured out no one was going to really trust someone who's brand new to the platform with 0 reviews. So I made it my mission. I was like, I just need to get some 5-star reviews. Like, I don't even care what I do because it doesn't really matter. Like, you have one Upwork platform, whether you're doing graphic design or digital marketing, like you're still the same freelancer essentially. So all of your reviews get combined together. So I just started applying for all of these like random jobs. Like, one of them was to like resize a bunch of PDFs for $5 and it was like 20 PDFs. So it took me like an hour and a half, but I got a 5-star review. So it was worth it. And then there was one where it was like, I had to write 50 marketing emails for his real estate agent. And ChatGPT didn't work back then. It didn't exist. Yeah. So I had to actually write 50 emails.
Like talking to people like pre and post electricity right now in the world.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I had to write it myself.
It would have been the easiest $20 ever if ChatGPT did it for me, but that was a $20 and a 5-star review I had to earn. So I did that. I remember getting maybe 5 or 10 5-star reviews. And then I started trying to apply for the actual digital marketing jobs that I thought I could get. And that was essentially how I got started. The first few contracts were tiny, like 300 a month, 500 a month. But I very quickly realized one of the best parts about running this kind of business is that a lot of the work is front loaded. That if I onboard a new client who, let's say, is running an e-commerce business, I'm going to do a good amount of work up front to learn about their business, set up the campaigns, put everything together. But then after that, there's not that much extra work. Like, obviously there's new work in launching the new ads and managing it, etc. But the hard part is getting the client in the first place. If you can keep them, it's almost 100% profit. Yeah. And thankfully, I spent a lot of time on my computer. I was pretty good at what I did just from the learnings that I had from that job. And I think a big reason people liked me was because I responded like almost instantly. I was always on my computer. So it's like someone had a question at 2:00, they were getting responded to about 2:10, which if you work with a typical business or agency, you're lucky if you get a response within 2 business days. So that really helped me build up a pretty consistent client base. I started getting more client reviews and it never really exploded, but there was a point where I would just get suggested through the Upwork platform. Like, they would just send clients to me essentially because I was one of the top rated Facebook ads freelancers. And that really did help support me through college. Pretty much from my second year of college, my sophomore year, to my last year, my senior year, that was pretty much all I did. Was I just managed a small base of clients that I didn't really have to do much marketing myself. I just got suggested by the platform and things were going pretty well.
So what happened next? What were some of the biggest challenges? That seems like it's still making a nice income, but you pay some bills. Maybe you can make some car payments. when your
Hmm.
friends are still just going to school versus doing millions. That's a big leap. What were some of the biggest challenges between the two?
I think the business was honestly pretty straightforward. There would occasionally be a client issue that I had to resolve, but I'm honestly naturally a very introverted person. So I tried to avoid phone calls and Zoom calls as much as I could. I would just instantly text people back. I'd send them Loom videos and videos of screen recordings and things like that, which honestly worked out really well for me. The biggest problem came when COVID hit, which was March of 2020, which was my senior year. And for whatever reason, the business had actually started to snowball right in December. I don't know what happened in December, but I'd like never seen the amount of demand, the amount of clients. Like I was making the most money I'd ever made in my life. And I was about to graduate. So I'm thinking I'm hot shit. I'm like, I'm gonna graduate, be this big shot
Doesn't sound
CEO.
like
I'm never
success. Yeah, tell me about
I thought
golden.
I Exactly. I thought I could do no wrong. I was going to graduate. All my friends have to get jobs, and I'm going to do whatever I want all day. And then COVID hit. First, we all got sent home from college. So everyone gets pushed out of college. I have to move back in with my parents. And then inside of a 2 to 3 week period, I lost pretty much every single one of my clients. And it was because all of my clients were either local service businesses, who most of them were under court government orders that they couldn't be open, or they were e-commerce businesses who theoretically should have been doing well, but I think because it was like the very start of COVID, they were afraid of how it was going to impact like reordering inventory. That was the thing they told me when they canceled their contract was, oh, we don't know if we could even handle this amount of demand. So we're really trying to conserve our inventory and be smart about our
Yeah.
cash flow.
Everyone started hiding under their desks. That's what was my
Yes.
experience. It was like, tuck
Yeah.
and cover.
Yeah. Yeah. Because no one knew what was going to happen. In a span of about 3 weeks, my whole life went from, oh my God, I'm this hot shit college kid making a ton of money to now I live back at home with zero income. And I didn't know what to do. So I had a lot of free time, thankfully, because now I had no clients. Classes were online, which were even more of a joke. So again, I just started learning and researching and just like looking at other business models because I honestly felt like this business model has just gone down the toilet. That was how I found out about digital products, about online courses and ClickFunnels and all of this other world of marketing that I had never really been exposed to. And that kind of made sense to me. It made sense why maybe a business owner would be a little nervous about paying 2, 3, 4,000 a month. That was my average contract a month when they're uncertain about their business's future. But they absolutely would pay $1,000 for a course one time that maybe is going to teach them how to do it themselves. It'll be educational, it'll save them some money, and it can make them money in the long term. So I didn't really have anything else better to do with my time. So I was like, okay, I'll put together a course and see if people will buy it. It took me about a week to put together my first course, and then I launched it to my email list, and it didn't really do anything. I had a decent following of just clients and referrals and things like that. It was maybe like a few hundred people, and I think I made $2,000 or $3,000, which was not like a life-changing amount of money, but I was like, okay, this shows me people will buy this. Like there are more people biting on this than there are people trying to hire me for me to do it for them. So that gave me confidence that, okay, maybe if I could market myself, which I had never done up to this point, I had basically just relied on referrals, word of mouth, etc. If I could actually learn how to market myself to people who don't know me yet, maybe there's some more potential here. And that was really when I dove down the rabbit hole of Russell Brunson, of Michael Masterson, just learning a lot about like actual copywriting. Like I had never really learned that much about copywriting up until this point. I knew how to run ads, but I didn't really know how to get someone interested in what I have to offer until this point. Like I actually had to teach myself it. And I remember I put together a webinar because everyone was talking about, oh, you need to run a webinar. That's how you sell anything, but especially sell digital products. And I spent 8 weeks putting together this webinar. When I practiced it, it was like over 2 hours long. I was like, I have no idea if this is going to work. So in June of 2020, that was when I first started running ads for myself. I recorded the webinar. I started running ads to it. I built the whole funnel. It took a good length of time. And it just like when I launched it to my email list, it did okay. I spent probably like $6,000-$7,000 on ads, and it made back 6 or 7 in revenue. So I didn't make any money, but I didn't lose any money. So I was like, okay, people, again, will buy this, but I just need to get more people buying it at a cheaper rate. And so that this was around the first time that I hired my first mentor, Alex Becker. He taught me a lot. I still use the software to this day. The next month, a lot of it obviously from the things that I learned, some changes that I made, and then also I think just timing, because we were progressing deeper and deeper into COVID. July of 2020, that month, I spent I think 40,000 on ads and made back 200,000 in
Wow.
revenue for the course. And that was like, it literally did not feel real. I literally thought it was like video game money. Like you can ask my brother. I literally called him like halfway through the month, like freaking out, like, Asher, I don't know what to do. Tell me, like, what is going on? Can you please help me? And he calmed me down. He basically said, whatever you're doing, don't stop doing it. Please just make sure like you keep doing what you're doing. Don't change anything. Just continue it. And it did. That first course ended up running for 2.5 years. It made close to $7 million. And yeah, I credit a lot of it to just being in the right place at the right time, because it was a very big shift in the market where more people than ever were on their devices, they were on their phones, they're on their computers, and they were open to learning new things, because the world was obviously changing and they recognized that if you don't learn something new, you might be left behind. So I think I got lucky in a lot of those regards, but that was the first big success that I had after that first failure of losing all the clients.
And the good news is you have an appreciation for it, because it's
Yeah.
not a fool and his money are soon parted, as they say. And so the first time you
Yeah.
make some money, it goes, yeah. Random question. Do you know Jermaine Griggs?
I feel like I've heard the name before.
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just hearing your story, he sent me, I may have seen, I only realize this now. I have to go back and check. I may have seen part of your webinar. Did you ever you did TikTok ads as well?
Just
Okay.
Facebook
Oh,
back
just
then.
Facebook. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Because you're the right age as some kid that, anyway, some guy that went to his gym. There's this kid at my gym that like showed up in a fancy car, and you got talking to him, and he was doing, it's like you said. No, I love it. So what were the biggest takeaways or lessons if you had to start over again? For people listening, they're like, man, you did a webinar and money started raining out of the sky. How? What happened? How do you make that work?
I think the biggest thing was, number one, I did a lot of research and studying, which in me telling my story, I realized that's my default pattern. And I am very good at it. Like I truly believe like I could learn almost anything if I was incentivized enough to do it. I love learning and digging deep into something new, like going down a rabbit hole. So when I had this realization, like there's these people running these ads, they're selling these products, they're doing these webinars, they're making millions of dollars. Like they're not that different than me. I could figure out how to do this. For about 2 weeks, I literally just went through every other person's sales funnel, like probably 20 different sales funnels, looked at all of their ads and just researched them, like literally just watched through the entire thing, taking notes as best I could, just scribbling things down. And I think almost subconsciously, if you look at 20 great anythings, if you watch 20 amazing violin performances, you're probably going to become a better violin player. So just this action of just me studying and researching all these different people, when it came time for me to put everything together, it was like this mishmash of 20 different people's webinars and sales funnels that were making millions of dollars. The quote says, great artists steal. And that's pretty much what I did. I just stole from 20 different sources and mishmashed it together into something that did end up working. So that was a really key component, is obviously no matter what you're doing, easiest thing you can do is just steal what's working, not from one person. Don't just copy one person and rip them off, but steal from 20 people and then make your own version of it. That's the easiest way, in my opinion, to shortcut success in anything. The other the other key that I think was big for me, which was also along those same lines, was almost every other competitor that was running ads, similar to the guy at the gym, was someone that had a fancy car and they had really polished advertising. Like they had these crazy edits and graphics, and they had the Ferrari and the mansion and everything. When I shot my first ad, I was still living at like my parents' house, and I didn't have a camera. I didn't have any equipment. I had my phone. So I literally, and I think that I got lucky, because when everyone else's ads look like these like super expensive, polished pieces of marketing, if you're scrolling on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube and you see this scraggly headed kid in a backyard, you're like, what the hell am I watching? This couldn't be an ad. And I would get so many customers who would tell me that. They would say, oh my God, I'm so glad that I found you. Like, I'm tired of all of these other people just making these promises. And with it differentiated itself almost accidentally.
You haven't said is that you make sure you deliver in your course. I
Yes.
think
Yes.
let's put that in there. A lot of times, and I
Yeah.
want to preface this too, especially in today's day and age, you got to be able to deliver. It's way too transparent of a world. Even if you don't have an ethical bone in your body, the only way to survive in business is to treat everyone with as much love as you can. Your clients, your customers, your staff. If you're in it for the long haul, I always feel bad when I hear about scammers or people that are doing things that, like, they're so industrious and they have such high agency. If they just did something that wasn't doomed to fail on some
Yeah.
sort of timeline, they could
Yeah.
build $1 billion company. That's why
Yeah.
I feel when I hear that. Some gangbanger who's got a good thing going with a harem. That's great, good for you. But bro, that's not going anywhere. There's
Right.
no happy ending to that. Like, so I just want to put that out there that we're not necessarily talking about how to make a great course right now, but I want to just make sure people know that's got to be part of it.
That I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a mistake that I made later in my journey. So we can get to that. But
Sure.
the first course was very successful, had amazing reviews. It was an amazing lifestyle business. Like, I had to work very little. I didn't really have to hire anyone for it. And it sustained itself for close to 2.5 years, in large part just because I was the marketer, and that is what drove the whole business, was just figuring out unique marketing and unique ways to stand out in a very loud and scammy industry. So that ended up being the first success. And then after about 2 years, number one, the course started to die off, which many courses do. It's like a fad, it's a flash in the pan, it's a shiny new object. But eventually the sales start to level off. They didn't drop to zero, but it was not at its peak what it was. So I lost the excitement there. I honestly felt very lonely. Like, this was COVID, so it's like I couldn't leave my house and like travel and do a lot of things.
Yeah, there's money, but I can't go anywhere.
Exactly.
And I
Exactly.
can't eat it.
Yeah. And the whole business was pretty much like me and two of my friends from high school who I had hired, and then a virtual assistant overseas. So it wasn't like I had this super tight knit, high performance culture. I was just, oh, you can help out and I can pay you every single month. And I think part of it was loneliness and part of it was ego. I was like, I have all this money, but no one knows about it. What's the point of being rich if you're not acting like a big shot CEO?
That's the whole point,
basically.
bro. That's the whole point. Yeah, that's the whole point. I want the money.
I know
not
that
the
in
fame.
retrospect.
Yeah.
I know that in retrospect, but I did make a very conscious decision in saying, okay, this first product was very successful, but now I want to do a second product where I build out a company. Basically, like, I build out a team because I feel like it'll just have a bigger impact and it will be able to reach more people, essentially. So I essentially just let the first course die. I just stopped running the marketing, stopped updating the marketing, and I went all in on creating this new product, which was kind of similar to the first one. It was just teaching what I had been learning, which now that I had this experience like selling a course through digital advertising, I realized that there were tons of other people who sold their knowledge, like coaches, consultants, course creators, etc., who I could potentially teach this to as well. So the first course was like pretty much you just get a set of videos, and it was like $1,500. My next course was the thing that a lot of people now do, which is the high ticket program, where we sold it for $10,000, and you got basically like access to this whole team of people who are going to write your ads. Then they were going to help you publish the ads and actually run them to make sure your course gets sales, basically. Similar to the first one, it did not start off like immediate smash hit. It took probably like 4 months for it to get going. And around like early 2022, that was when it actually started to pick up. So early 2022, I think it was barely making any money. By the end of the year, it was at $1 million a month. And then in mid 2023, that was when it had reached its peak, which was at $4.5-ish million a month. So it grew very fast, which at that pace, we were onboarding about 400 to 500 clients every single month. Like you mentioned before, I had over 100 different team members. Each department, like our client success department, was over 25 people. Our sales team was over 25 people.
And you're selling all this with a webinar, an automated webinar, live webinar, hybrid.
We started off with a webinar that was automated, and then eventually it transitioned. We did the low ticket to high ticket model, where someone would buy something small for $9, $27, and then they would get introduced to the higher level program. Those are the two main funnels that ran this. But that business, because it was more expensive and because we were promising more, like it wasn't just we're going to give you a series of videos, but it was like you're going to get this person and that person who are going to help you out inside of your business. It was closer to an actual like full service agency than it was just like an information product. And unlike an information product, when it comes to an agency, when you're working with 500 clients a month, it's very different than when you're working with 50 clients a month. So that, and I had never built a team before. This was the very first time I had built a team. I did not know what I was doing. So due to a lot,
you
due
were
to
like
a lot of
different, got in a Lamborghini and just fucking fuck the speed limit.
Yes.
Let's go. That's good.
Yeah. And that was truthfully how I felt. If I'm being perfectly honest, if we did $3 million last month, I was like, okay, how do we do 3.5 this month? Like it was just ego. It was just excitement, adrenaline. And you don't really, and obviously when the numbers are going up, you think everything is going great. Oh, we grew the business, so everything must be amazing. But
like
obviously
casino without the drugs and violence. But yeah, sorry, keep going.
Exactly. That's the best description. But yeah, very quickly, the business was growing, but that could not sustain itself forever. No business can just go up and to the right forever. As the business grew, the customer experience got worse because we were not managing our client success team properly. People were falling through the cracks. The amount of refunds that people were asking for increased. So very quickly, by the end of 2023, growth had leveled off pretty significantly. At the start of 2024, so we had a peak of 4.5 million a month in the summer of 2023. Early 2024, we were maybe at 2.5 million a month. Within 3 months, that had been cut in half. And then another month after that, it had cut in half again. And then by the summer of 2024, it was basically zero, like completely out of business, which I think the biggest reason for it was just the mindset of just growing for growing's sake. Like I was literally just trying to push the business as big as it could be without really any good reason. And looking back on it now, it's very obvious. It's, as the business grew, I made less money. I was more stressed out. I had to work more hours. Clients got worse results. They were more unhappy. The average salary on the team dropped because we were having to hire new people rather than just continuing to pay the existing team members more. So everyone hated it. I hated it. The team members hated it. The clients hated it. And it ended up crashing and burning. So that was another very humbling lesson where I had to realize, and I'm sure everyone has heard some version of this, and someone will probably hear this and still do what I did, because sometimes you have to go through it yourself to really internalize it. But unless you have a really good reason for growing a business, I honestly don't think you should. That's my honest opinion. Like, honestly, unless you do believe the experience will get better the more people you onboard into it, or there's some greater purpose that it's solving. If it's just money and trying to make more money, you're probably better off just figuring out how to keep more of what you're already making rather than trying to go out and get some more, because that's usually the most expensive thing that you can do.
Yeah, that's a great point. I had a talk with Ryan Levesque. He was on our podcast like 3 times, and we had a conversation about profit versus growth. And that if you're trying to grow the company, there's no profit because you have to reinvest the profit. Like you said, you have to hire more staff, R&D, refunds. You need some sort of runway. But once things level off, now you can start looking at how do we profit from this. So those are 2 different phases of a business. And I appreciate your candor. I've really enjoyed, even our pre-call, I enjoyed talking to you. You're very humble. I can see that this has been a humbling experience. I think you've learned to wield a superpower. My claim to fame is also helping people do millions with essentially webinar or automated sales processes and paid ads. To be frank, I've been out of the paid ads game now a couple of years, but that's how we did it. If you can get paid ads to work and you point that at an automated or highly automated sales process, sky's
the limit.
Yeah, it is. It's shocking how powerful it can be. And a lot of people, they want that, but it's the whole, in some ways it can be the Midas touch. Everything turns to gold, but now everything turns to gold. And I can't hug my loved ones, all that sort of stuff. So what would you recommend to someone starting out and struggling? If they're like, man, this sounds amazing. I want to have a $4 million a month problem. What would you recommend to them if they're trying to figure out how do I crack paid ads and do it profitably?
Honestly, one of the easiest ways even outside of paid ads, but also to validate paid ads at the time of recording this now, is just to make social media videos, like short form videos for Instagram Reels, for TikTok, for YouTube Shorts. Because number one, those can make you money on their own. Like I literally have a client who they'll make like one of those videos a day and they'll take home like 100 grand a month without running any ads. It's one of the biggest opportunities I think right now is just making those videos because the platforms push them a lot. Like it's one of the few times that you can actually get organic growth, which is not always the case with many social media platforms. The other benefit is if you're good at making those videos and if you have one of those videos like pop off, like it starts getting maybe not millions of views, but even like 1,000 views when you usually get 100, that's a very strong sign that this would work if you ran it as an ad. And it's one of, if you, unless you have a good advertising budget, which I would say, unless you have 5 to 10,000 that you can light on fire and not be sad that it's gone, I would probably do this first strategy because it saves you so much of the money that would be going into that initial testing. Yeah. Except now you're doing it completely for free. You're just posting on the algorithms. So I think that's a really great strategy. And like I said before, easiest way to get started with it is just look up 5 people who do the same thing as you, look up what they post on social media, start copying them. Take 5 people, mishmash together your own style out of those 5, and you make 10 videos, they're probably going to be crappy. And then the next 10 is maybe when you're going to start seeing some actual results.
I love that. Yeah. Test with organic. And I think that's a powerful message. It can be tough. And I'm going to have a follow-up question, but as a comment on that, I think that's probably the best way. Because if you have garbage and you spend $15,000 advertising garbage,
yes,
it's still garbage. And so if you can make something work organically, this is probably, if you can make things work organically and then you throw paid ads on it, it's like throwing gasoline on a fire. What do you say to the person that's like starting fresh out? Like, I got no audience. I can do a short a day, but I'm doing it to an audience of 0. Do they just news jack, hashtag jack? Is that what they're going to have to do? They're just going to have to hop on those trends to get the views in the beginning, or what?
Pretty much. The beautiful thing is, at least at the time of the recording this, you have just as much chance of getting attention as a new account as even someone that has 10,000. Like the algorithms right now are very much skewed towards like small new creators, which does not last forever. So I think that's something that should be capitalized on. Beyond that, something you can do that's very manual is just commenting and interacting with bigger accounts. Like I have seen that work. I think Gary Vee calls it the $1.80 strategy, where he basically says you give your 2 cents, you comment on like 100 people's posts every single day. And if you do that, like you're not going to be broke forever. It's a very manual process, but it won't take hours. It'll maybe take 45, 60 minutes, and you will get impressions. If you leave insightful comments, people will click on your profile, they'll check out your stuff. And I think one thing that was unsaid is if you are a brand new account, you need to have a niche. So it's like a lot of people want to develop a personal brand, or they want to know, I've never had this interest, but I think there are some people where it's, I want to be just Lucas Lee Tyson on social media. I don't want to be the XYZ guy. And there is that 100%. There's people that do that make a ton of money, but the odds that happens is very low. It's an incredibly gambling.
There's riches and niches, bitches.
Yes, yes, exactly. Unless you want to make it extremely obvious, someone clicks on your profile, they're like, what kind of account is this? Is it a weight loss account? Is this an account about teaching me how to do social media, teach me how to do ads, teach me copywriting? There should be no nuance in what someone is learning. And usually I've found that a lot of that nuance, like a lot of problems in business, comes from ego. So I can do all of these different things that are so amazing, so I want to talk about all of them, but it's like, you can do that later. Like when we're starting off, just getting like the first 100, first 1,000, making your first $1,000, like we need to make it super obvious what the value is.
That's powerful. Yeah, that's something that I've always struggled with. One of the best, I actually just talked about this earlier today. One of my first coaching clients, when I got, because I had my book hit #1 on Amazon and marketing and sales. And I was so shocked. This guy from my hometown, he ran the moving company. He had Frank the Mover, and it was the premium moving company. And I remember we were sitting down in a Tim Hortons having a meeting, and I learned that he has Frank the Mover, but he also has Move for Less. And I was so shocked because Move for Less is the cheap. So he had the premium and the cheap. And I asked him, how does that work? And he goes, if they call Frank the Mover, I'm making up names here, but he's like, they call Frank the Mover, Rebecca answers the phone. If they call for work for less, Sandra answers the phone. And then if it's a Frank the Mover, we send the Frank the Mover truck, and the guys wear the Frank the Mover shirts, and we use the paper with Frank the Mover on it, and they get the frills, they get the bubble wrap, they get all the frill stuff. If it's Move for Less, it's just the plain white van. There's no logo on the shirt, there's no logo on the thing, and there's no frills. He's like, that's simple. And I blew my mind because I'd grown up in this town, and Frank the Mover was like, it's just, everybody knows Frank the Mover. And never occurred to me that the two were the same business. So I had a conversation yesterday with someone I'm working with about exactly that, going, bro, it's $10 for a domain. And with no code tools now, you can spin up a mini site in seconds. So with good copy, the path to $1 million is selling a consistent solution to it's consistently selling a specific solution to a specific problem for a specific person.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's what you're saying. You're saying you need to make your social media about a specific solution to a specific problem, or just about the problem for a specific type of person. And that's incredibly powerful. What are some of the habits that you feel have served you best through the ups and downs that you think are mission critical?
I think mission critical that I've done at pretty much every stage of my journey has always been just like paying attention to what other people are doing and learning. I've probably looked in the Facebook ads library every single day for the past 6 years. I don't think there's been a single day where I haven't. It might be one ad, it might be an hour's worth of ads, but it's just a habit at this point. I almost always know what other people are doing, what other people are saying, and that's all really marketing, is know what everyone else is saying so that you can say the opposite.
That's so powerful. I want you to keep going, but that's such a powerful thing you said. And it's a free tool, right? There's no fee. Can you explain Facebook ad library to people that are listening that maybe have never heard what it is, and describe how you think it should be used?
So Facebook ads library, Facebook makes it a requirement that every ad that's run on Facebook, Instagram, etc., has to be public. There's no way to hide it. And I think they had to do this after the election, maybe in 2020 or something. Yeah. But you can type in anyone's page name. You can type in mine, Daryl's, President Obama. It will show you every ad that they are currently running. And sometimes you can also see ones that they've turned off. So every single day, what I'll go in there is I'll usually look at companies that aren't necessarily competitors of mine, but they sell to the same customers. So ClickFunnels obviously serves my same customer base. I almost always know what ads ClickFunnels is running, what landing pages, sales funnels, etc. Just general vibe and tone of a lot of their messaging, because that's obviously important if I'm going to be speaking to the same customer base. And you'll see if you go in there, you type in any company, there'll be anywhere between 100 and like thousands. If you type in Petco, they're going to run 30,000 ads. The useful thing with the tool is that it will show you when an ad started running. Yes. So you can assume if we're in May right now, if I go back to January, if they've been running the same ad since January, that ad is probably making them money. That's a good thing to pay attention to. Is I want to copy ads that have been running for a long time, that have been proven, they're working, and the whole library is chronological. So I just type in ClickFunnels, I scroll all the way to the bottom, and I can see all of the longest running ads that they have. It's all publicly available.
I love that. Yes. You said exactly what I wanted to hear you say. So that means that anyone listening to this right now can go to Facebook ad library. You can type in the keywords of your niche, even if you don't have a specific competitor. I think you have to select English, non-political, and then you can choose 4 years ago, and you can just have show me only the active ads, and you can scroll down and see, are there any ads that have been running, and what's the oldest? And as you scroll down, it'll show you the older ads. Do you think it's the complete library, or because I've done that sometimes and I've thought this can't be all of it?
What I've found is that Facebook now, with their advertising, they're using AI to combine and test all of these different things. I've found that it will sometimes combine a bunch of ads into one in the library, which I don't know the legality of, if they legally have to make a lot of it available. But I've seen the same thing where I will see something like on Instagram and I'll see, oh, that's an interesting ad. And then you will look it up at the Facebook ads library, and sometimes it won't be there. And it's because it's like an AI variant of one of the other ads or something like that. That's my guess. It doesn't happen a ton, but I have experienced that.
What other insight tools do you like to use?
There's one really good one for YouTube that's called Video Ad Vault. It costs money, but it's good. It's like $100 a month. And one of the reasons I love using that is because with YouTube ads, you can see how many views an ad has. So on YouTube and on most advertising platforms, a view is usually around like 10 cents. So if I go on YouTube Video Ad Vault and I see an ad on there that has 50 million views, that means they spent $5 million on this ad. So it must have been a good ad. And that was actually one of the ways that when I first had my first successful product back in 2020, I did exactly that. I went on a YouTube ad spy tool. I found all of the ads that had at least, I think, 5 million views. And I just watched all of them. I just figured out what are all of them saying? What is the structure? And that was how I taught myself how to run YouTube ads in a similar way.
That's powerful. That's so powerful because it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. And a lot of people thinking about this going, oh, but aren't you just copying? And I want to say something. In business, you don't want to be the restaurant at the end of a dead end road. Typically, you want to be at a busy food court lined up amongst a bunch of others, and you just want to do your best to be the best and be different.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think there's a lot of parts of an ad that it's like when you do your call to action, when I say click the link around this video to do X, Y, and Z, no matter how you might say that just off the top of your head, I guarantee some other business has said the exact same thing. There's only so many different points of originality. So the real key, I think, with advertising is figure out what makes you unique. If you're a fitness coach, what is actually different about your approach to losing weight that I couldn't learn from all 100 other on Instagram? Make that, exactly. You make that your key differentiator and be unique on that. When it comes to like your scripting and your copywriting, like I shamelessly steal sentences, paragraphs, etc., because it's like no one cares how I say click on this ad. That's not really why people are going to buy from me.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's really powerful. Where do you see the future of this going? There's lots happening geopolitically, a lot's happening with AI. Where do you see this in 5-10 years?
I think it's ironic that a lot of the success that I probably would not have had the success that I had if AI did exist. Like if AI had been around since 2018, 2020, that course probably would not have sold, because if you think about it, and I think this is going to continue to happen in the next 5-10 years, people's attention spans have generally gotten shorter and shorter, and people's demands for things have gotten bigger and bigger. If something doesn't arrive now within 2 days and you buy it online, it's impossible to think about. Like, why would I ever buy something that doesn't get here in 2 days? So I think we're seeing the same thing when it comes to knowledge and expertise. It's if I am not good at accounting, why would I buy a book about accounting? Why would I buy a course about accounting when, this is my assumption, but I think in the future, it's like, why couldn't I buy an AI employee, like an AI robot that will come in and just do the accounting for me? Until I'm ready to hire the full service Fortune 500 CFO, why don't I have just the mini little AI assistant doing all of my accounting for me? And then if I ever have questions about accounting, I can just go to him. I can type in the little chat window and it'll answer for me. I think we've already seen that with ChatGPT. They say ChatGPT and social media have taken a lot of Google's business because people don't, if you want to find the best restaurant in Italy, a lot of people are just going to TikTok for that. They're just looking up like, oh, best restaurants in Italy. And if you have an information or an insight-based question, a lot of people are just using ChatGPT for that. So I don't think this means that information is dead and that people don't care about learning anymore, but people are going to want information in a much more convenient way, which, like for me, when I was running my business, we had 20 different spreadsheets, all of these different dashboards that I never looked at, and I own the business. I don't think many of our team ever looked at these things. Why would I want to have a dashboard or anything like that when I could just go into chat, my business's equivalent of ChatGPT, and just ask it like, oh, what's our profit this month? Or how many calls did we book 3 days ago? And it would just instantly know the answer. So that's how I see it. As these technologies keep getting better and better, I think the applications of them are going to be on taking information, taking knowledge that smart, intelligent people have, and turning those into action and turning them into actual applications that aren't just about learning, but it's more about how do I take what you know and actually put it to work in your business? So something that I think is really exciting that we're working on with one of our companies is now, instead of selling Lucas in a course or Lucas's team who he's coached, well, now you can buy AI Lucas. If you want to run ads like Lucas, you don't even have to learn it. You can just buy AI Lucas and he'll make all of your ads for you. And it will be exactly as how Lucas himself would actually do it. And I think the future is that's going to extend to everything. It's going to extend to finance. It'll extend to legal, to operations, to customer service. It's just a matter of time as the technology keeps getting better and better. And obviously, the exciting part about that is hopefully it means that someone would not go through the same painful experience that I did, where instead of just egotistically hiring 100 people, one person could theoretically have a $5 million business just with the help of a little AI workforce. Yeah. That's how I see a lot of things going. I don't think we're there yet, but I think in the next year, a lot of changes are going to happen with that.
And so then I guess what becomes the focus? Is it focusing on, if it's not, because right now for some people, like just as a competitor, let's just say you and I, we both have the ability to produce a result for someone, but you have an added skill set where you know how to do paid ads and I don't. Now you have a competitive advantage. But now we enter an era where, well, I can produce the results you can produce. Maybe I produce it better, but you're better at paid ads. But now with AI, I can just have AI Lucas. Now I can have paid ads as good as you. And now is it turning into, and I'm just curious, I don't want to put an answer in your mouth, but now does it become focusing on the things people need and want, and almost a reevaluation of value and substance? Again, what do people really buy and why do they buy it? Food, water, shelter, entertainment, getting to the core of it. What do you think?
I think it will. I think there will be a lot of industries, products, and services that will get eliminated. Like I do think that will happen to some degree. I don't think everything is going to go away, and I think most people will probably be fine. But just in the invention of the computer and the internet, there is going to be adaptation. And I think the adaptation is going to be how you have taken what you know, what skills you have, and how you've augmented it with AI. So for example, let's say there's two accounting firms that are trying to get clients, but let's use something more specific. Let's say it's two lawyers. You're trying to figure out which lawyer you hire. If one of those lawyers just has a generic website that's, oh, we're this law firm, we do this, that, and the other, you look at it and you're like, oh, okay, I've seen this before. Versus the other law firm, which this is just hypothetical, but if it somehow knew about your business, like if it knew like what your business was, what your needs were, you could theoretically have that, you could ask that law firm's chatbot, like, oh, like I have this issue in my business. What do you think I should do? And it'll give you a free answer, but then it will give you a follow-up and say, this is actually something you can speak to our team about. Would you like to do, essentially? So I think you have the exact same two businesses with the exact same skill set. The reason that one person's going to pick one over the other is the same reason that they have for many years. It's marketing. It's just which business do I feel like understands me better? And just like how with every invention of technology, they have been used as lead magnets in marketing. People used to send free PDFs. Now you don't really see that anymore. Now it's all videos. I think we're going to see the exact same thing with AI, where there's now going to be the creation of very specialized and genuinely useful tools and resources being distributed from a business perspective, just like how the way that I had my very first success was with educational webinars. Those webinars did absolutely teach people different things. And then at the end, there was a sales pitch. I think we're going to see the exact same thing with AI, where these are tools that can do small amounts of things, like using the legal example. Maybe I can upload a contract into this tool and it tells me all the areas that I need to be aware of, that I need to be thinking about and should be worried about as potential red flags. It'll give me a good amount of value. And then obviously it will pitch something to me. It'll sell me something that obviously this little tool on its own would not be able to do. And we've seen this already there's a lot of Fortune 500 and massive companies that are adopting these AI enabled tools that basically let their whole team like create these little AI widgets and so on. So I think there's going to be hopefully a lot of creativity that comes out as a lot of businesses figure out, like, oh, people don't want to just watch videos. They don't just want a PDF. They want something that's actually going to give them genuine value that actually will help them right away. So that then after we've shown that we can help them, they will obviously want to pay us for our more premium products and services. So overall, I think the person who wins is going to be the end consumer. They're going to get hopefully helped at a greater level, and hopefully things will be cheaper. There won't be as much unnecessary expense as the technology continues to develop, mainly as a result of like the competition that will come with it. And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm all for it too. I agree. I think it's going to be interesting. I think they've been saying that humans would be replaced forever. When they invented tractors, we're not going to need farmers. We invented a calculator, we're not going to need math anymore, or people, bookkeepers, and spreadsheets. We're not going to need accountant. QuickBooks, we don't need CPAs anymore. And all that really happened was the productive people became more productive, and the less productive just lost their excuse for why it took them 2 days to say 2 + 2 = 4. An interesting thing in the whole AI debate about like sentient AI, I always think about when I first heard about fertility clinics, when they take a sperm and an egg and they inseminate it. You can watch these videos online. There's a flash of light when the sperm can in the egg, like that moment when it happens. Wow. And that was so powerful for me because I said, wow, there really is a spark of light. There really is a spark of light. And someone said, yeah, scientists say listen, I grew up in a house of hard science. The man that raised me worked in applied physics and geology. So I believe in hard science. I spent 50 grand to go through all the research on business success to figure out what moves the needle. I believe in hard science, but this is science. It's repeatable. I can take a sperm, egg, put them together, flash a light. So you show me how to release zinc and create sentient consciousness. When you can do that, I'll take that as the answer. Right now, I'm like, that is the proof of a soul, of something. Spark. And until we figure out how to do that with AI, it's really just a tool.
Yes.
Tool. Yep. That's what it is. It's a really smart tool. And it's cool. It's really cool. Anyway, this has been a great conversation. I feel like we got to get you back on to keep talking about some of this stuff. I want to be respectful of your time. Is there anything I haven't asked you about that I should have asked you?
No, you asked some really great questions. I think we covered past, present, and future. So that's everything we could have talked about.
If people want to learn more, if they enjoyed it as well and want to reach out, what are some of the best ways for them to follow you, to get in touch, all that?
I'm most active on Facebook. So just my name, Lucas Lee Tyson. It should be the one with the blue check. Same with Instagram. I do all of the DMs on both myself. So if you have a question, you can always DM me there. One of the new companies that I'm working on, similar to what I've talked about so far, is an AI company. It's called Printer AI, which is still currently in development. It's not available for release, but we are imagining it will be an AI that can help run some, if not all, aspects of your business. So feel free to put your name down on the waiting list for that. And if you did want any help with paid advertising, funnels, selling more of your coaching, your courses, etc., my business, License to Print, at license2print.com. That's where me and my team still do that to a great degree.
So that's license2print.com. You can also check out printer.ai. I opened up, printer.ai. And you can look them up on Facebook and Instagram, Lucas Lee Tyson, LucasLeeTyson. Lucas, this has been a great call. I got a couple of pages of notes. A lot of the stuff we talked about was timeless fundamentals that worked when it was direct mail. It works now in paid ads. I imagine this stuff will continue to work in the future. People may want to listen to this call more than once to make sure they got all the goods. Thank you so much for coming and joining us. Knowing you've got your own followers, your own direct reports, your own clients, your own stuff. Thank you for coming and sharing with my audience and I so we could all do a little bit better.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Daryl. It was awesome.